So now that we have our controller finished, we have two more pieces to put in. We need to put our JSP page and the mapping for our JSP page to our controller. So looking at our controller that we just finished up here, you notice that we had this model parameter that we added here. Model has an attribute in there with a key of greeting and a value of hello world. And model is just simply a hash map, a basic map structure. It does a little bit more than that, but that's all you need to know for what it does for now. Keep that in mind when we create our JSP page. I'm going to reference back to greeting here. As you'll recall, when we're talking about some of the prerequisite stuff or just some of the standards that we're going to code to, we like to put all of our JSP pages under the webinf directory. So let's right-click on source main web app webinf and say new folder, and let's do JSP. Click finish. Now let's right-click on JSP and do other and choose web JSP file. Now be careful here because by default it chooses the wrong directory for you. We do not want it in this directory here. Instead we want it in our source main web app webinf JSP directory. I've made that mistake multiple times. So make sure you've got that in the source main web app webinf directory JSP, and let's call this hello.jsp. All right, click finish. Now the beauty of Spring and JSP and doing it this way is that by default we have the standard EL language available to us to extract values out of our request parameters. So what we can do is we can add an H1 element down here, just standard HTML tag, and we can do $ curly brace greeting. Okay, let's go ahead and save that. Now you remember greeting is what I was just reminding you about in the hello controller. So let me just put these two side by side here so you can see them. Hello controller, we had this this model attribute here, greeting, and inside of our hello JSP page we had greeting there. Those are what tie those two together. That's how it knows what to grab out of that model to display on the page. Okay. The last piece that we need is to tell our controller which JSP page it should display with this. So if we open up our servlet config, ways to configure this bean. I like the more condensed version, but it is a little bit of black magic, so I'm going to show you both ways. The longhand way is to do bean and to do class, and we're going to do org.springframework.web let's see, servlet. They win for the longest class names here. Servlet, and we want to go view dot internal resource view resolver. Now the longhand way of doing this is to come down here and now specify these bean properties. So we come down here and say property, and we can do the property for prefix, and I can give that a value of web-inf, web-inf /JSP/ and close that off. Or I can do, and then I also have to do the suffix, and this is just saying where's my JSP page, where are my JSP pages located at, and what suffix am I looking for them with. Oops, excuse me, value. And our suffix should be .jsp. So what's our JSP extension? It's .jsp. So that's the longhand way. Okay, nothing wrong with that. It works just fine. I'm going to go ahead and comment this out, and show you the shorthand way, which really isn't that much shorter, but just more and more examples and things that you see, code snippets are done the shorthand way. The shorthand way, I'm going to go down to my namespaces tab here, and I'm going to click P for the property namespace, and go back to my source and do bean, and we have to suffer through that .spring framework. You know what, we can just copy this up here. Copy, paste, and the shorthand way is I can do P:, and we can do prefix, and on the same line we can put all this information, web-inf /JSP / and do P: suffix, and for that we'll have our .jsp extension, and then we can close that off. So really, you know, is it a whole lot better? You know, that's debatable. It's just more and more what you're starting to see people use. It means the same thing both ways. This is just short, and then we can close that off. So really, you know, is it a whole lot better? You know, that's debatable. It's just more and more what you're starting to see people use. It means the same thing both ways. This is just short.